Right, I'm going to start off with Stephen, because it's actually your daughter who actually pointed you to the direction of the play that Moira Buffini wrote called A Vampire Story, which was written in 2008 and was played in a lot of schools around the world.
Yeah, the origins were, it was a play that Moira had written for teenagers. And my daughter was doing her GCSEs and she was supposed to be in the play, but she was also in the school play, so we said, you can do one or the other. And she dragged us along to see it, all of her mates were in it. And Neil and I, of course, many, many years ago, I was lucky enough to produce Company of Wolves, which was my first movie. And I've always wanted to do a film like that ever since. And I love the play. I love the idea of the play, of the mother-daughter vampire relationship. I hadn't sort of seen that before, and I sort of spoke more about it. And that's how it sort of began.
I thought it was a no-brainer that you just immediately go to Neil and ask him to do it after an interview with a vampire. But it actually wasn't quite as simple as that. You actually didn't.
No, it was very hard for Moira to think about it as something not, as well, writers they do one thing and that's what they think it is. So it was quite hard to work with her to bring it out to be something else, keeping the mother-daughter relationship. And so it took a couple of years to get a script that we both really liked. And at that point, I was having dinner with Neil in London and just mentioned to him that we'd been working on this script, would you like to see it? So it was weirdly coincidental.
And you wanted to do it, why?
I like the script a lot, actually. It was very strange reading. There were so many things in it that were familiar to me from the movies, and the thing that I was most worried about actually was the fact that it was a vampire story. I love the mother-daughter relationship. I love the fact that it was about a girl who was trying to tell a story for 200 years. I love the weird, messed up, abandoned seaside town. But I was going, vampires, like there's so many of them, and how can we do this stuff? But I met with Maura and we talked about it, and she was a bit afraid of making it into a generic movie at the time, and I remember saying to her, you can't be afraid of the fact that this is a vampire film, you can't pretend this is not what they are, let's just try and go for the, I don't mean make it a gross out horror movie, but make it part of the genre. These people kill people, and there's blood there, and there is all this, because in the first script, I think you read the first script, did you?
Yeah.
You weren't sure whether it was all in Eleanor's mind or not, something, yeah. It was quite ambiguous. And she came up with this concept, basically, that everybody who reads the story that Eleanor tells, because it's forbidden, they will be killed, yeah, which I thought, that's a great structure for a movie, And, she came up with another draft that was quite different, but the essence of it was there, So that's why I did it, because I like scripts.
And you both thought of Gemma the moment you read it, and you went over to see her when she was filming Hansel and Gretel, and she was trying to convince them. So,
yeah.
Why did you
thought
think?
she liked it.
I didn't
like
need
it?
convincing.
She liked it. I was told she liked it. That's why I went there.
Desperate to do.
And for what reason, though, Gemma? What did you see? You liked the fact, I remember you telling me about the revolutionary side of it, and you see them as quite revolutionary figures.
Yeah, there were many reasons. I liked the sort of feminist take, and I felt like, this is the sort of style of movie that I really enjoyed, and it did remind me of Neil Jordan films, and I thought it was unusual to see a mother-daughter in this light. There were many reasons why I wanted to do this film, and I just loved the script. I thought it was very intriguing.
And Saoirse, from your point of view, and working with Gemma as well, getting that bond and that dynamic between you was like a mother and daughter.
I think that just kind of came very naturally, I was saying earlier, and I haven't really thought about it before, but I think that when two people or a group of people, when a few people have the same sense of humour, I think it really makes a difference to the dynamic of the group and the relationship that you have with the other cast members. And we kind of got on straight away because we had a laugh with each other, and Sam was the same. And so that was really lovely. So going into a film like this, like Neil said, I mean, I was a bit worried when I heard it was a vampire film because there has been so much done recently in the one sort of style, and if it was going to be about suppliants or, you know, bloodthirsty immortals, it needed to be told in a different way, whether that be visually or through the story. And with this, it was kind of both. It was visually, I think it was going back to the original kind of gothic vampire tale, which was fantastic because we haven't seen that in so long, you know, and that's something that Neil is so good at and has always been fantastic at. And so that's why I was really interested in it, because I knew that I could trust Neil with it. I wanted to work with Neil. I loved the script. I loved the cast. And it was going to be shot in Ireland as well. I meant to bring my dog up to Dublin.
Well, it wasn't meant to be shot in Ireland, actually.
No, but eventually it was. And then I remember when you told me, I mean, I was already signed up to do it, but I remember you called me up and said, oh, I was thinking that Eleanor should be a fantastic piano player, and so I think you should take piano lessons. And then I was like completely into it because I had always wanted to do that, and I felt like, you know, just a few weeks before we started rehearsals, everything was really coming together really well. So.
Because you added the whole Irish sacrament bit, going to the island.
No, it was very complicated because, you know what I'm saying. No, well, I'm not going to be rude. No, but it's originally, what Maura wrote was the way you get turned into a vampire is you go and you join and you fight Napoleon and you end up on some beach in Turkey or Asia Minor and you wander among ruins and you're bitten by an enormous bird. Or you're bitten by a snake, which is held by an enormous bird and drops the snake on you and it bites you and you're now a vampire. The money fell through and we couldn't afford to go to Morocco. We had found these wonderful locations in the desert south of Ouazzazate and we couldn't afford to go there. And I said to Maura, just look into the Irish stuff like this. And then it became more interesting in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just we invented this weird waterfall business and this strange hut that you go into where you meet a version of yourself, you know. So
It was more like folklore then, wasn't
kind
it?
of. Well, I call it the first historically accurate vampire movie, actually. all of the others are false. They're all false.
But that's something, because I remember you mentioned to me that you actually read on the set.
Yeah. Yeah. Moira's very, I mean, she's such a literate, she loves literature, and she loves getting all that stuff in there.
Because you did Tamara Drew with her. I mean, and did she mention this to you when you were actually making it?
Yes, I remember now she did. We were having dinner, we shot Tamara Drew in Dorset, and we were all having dinner together, and she said, I said, what are you doing at the moment? And she said, I'm writing a vampire film. And I went, what are you doing that for? Like, I just couldn't imagine her doing something like that, and I didn't know about the play. And she said it, and I sort of laughed at it. It's so bad. But, and then I read it, you know, and it's weird. It's great.
And you're a particularly good director of women.
Of women?
Yes.
Really? Yes. Oh my God. No, I'll do it again. I'd love to, yeah. If somebody offers me a script, or a script that I haven't written, I quite selfishly write a draft of it myself. You know, in this case, I said to Maura I wouldn't do that because the voice was so specific, even though the story changed. You know, the way in which Eleanor told her story in this 18th century way. Even the last line she says, what did she say? Never will I tell it more. Yeah, I've never written that, you know. I'll never tell it again. I will tell it never more or something. When she said never will I tell it more, I go, okay, she knows where this girl is. She knows the 18th century way of, you know, whatever. Books. They did write books then, didn't they?
And Saoirse, Caleb Landry Jones, I mean, your relationship with Frank, I mean, it was great. I mean, it's so touching. And I just thought, you know, did you work? I mean, he's a particularly unusual actor anyway. I think if you've seen Antiviral and Last Exorcism, so I think that, you know, working with him.
Yeah, it was an experience. It was special because Caleb is somebody who really throws himself into a character, and I know that from what we've done with him and just what other people have done with him as well. He really, really cares about what he does, you know. And so I think to take a role like that, to just be the love interest of one of the central characters and and turn that into a boy who's very, very interesting and really gives a fantastic performance is brilliant, you know, and that shows how good an actor he is. So.
He's one of those actors who's no defense against the role. You know, he kind of would sleep in the bed that the character sleeps in. That room that that we shot in, where the solar panel was painted on the ceiling. That's actually a house I used to live in, you know. And Caleb moved into that room and lived there, actually. My mate was living in the room, he couldn't get rid of him. The house, you know. So he's that kind of guy, isn't he? He's got no defenses against the part. He suffers the entire part, and then when it's over, something different happens, which is great. As a director, it's great or something like that. You know? Well, after Interview the Vampire, Warner Brothers asked me to write a script based on her next novel, The Vampire Lestat. And I wrote it, you know, and I had a blast doing that. It was wonderful, you know, but you know, Tom Cruise never does sequels, and it would be difficult to get the two done. Yeah, beyond that, didn't he? Yeah. You're right.
He's done like 4 of those.
I know. Yeah,
Right, okay.
Anyway, he didn't want to do a sequel to this. He didn't want to do a and so I had a blast doing that, but then I kind of forgot, you know. And then the whole Twilight thing happened, which was really strange, you know. I mean, Catherine Hardwicke is a good director, you know. I actually saw the first Twilight movie, and I thought, okay, I can understand this. You know, they've turned the vampire thing into a teen love story where they only kiss and they never have sex and stuff. It's like, okay, I get it in a way, you know what I mean? But beyond that, I don't understand the phenomenon at all. And I think audiences would be forgiven for throwing their eyes to heaven and saying, not another vampire movie, please. There's something in the genre, and there's something in the metaphor, and there's something in the mythology that is compulsive, you know, and maybe the reason it's been so prevalent for the last 10 years is because audiences want something other than realism, you know what I mean? They want some sense of myth and fantasy, you know? That's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I have to say that I drew a lot on my own experience with my mum and my sister, because I have a kind of similar relationship with my mother. She's more like my sister, and I mother my sister. So I sort of had a mixture of both of those elements, and I very much was inspired by both those relationships with the Eleanor relationship. The protectiveness that I felt from my mum at the same time is that there's one scene where I say, I know I won't get your respect. And I remember my mum saying that exact line to me once when I was looking disapprovingly at her. And yeah, so I drew from, it kind of came naturally, even though it was a strange relationship, it came naturally to me because of my own experience.
No, not at all. No. I mean, this whole thing was influenced by the script. You know, the possibility of the script and all of that imagery by the sea and by the beach was to do with Eleanor's memories, you know, and the idea of a young girl trying to remember the past. I mean, the script gave this lovely irony because when they came to the town, she remembered everything and she remembered nothing. Do you understand what I mean? So it was this lovely thing, and you can play with the sense of memory, and there's nothing better for that than crashing waves and beaches, and you know, it's like. I have to say, the bloody waterfall, yeah, was actually suggested by the designer of the film, Simon Elliott. You know, we went to this extraordinary waterfall that's close to a house I have in the southwest of Ireland, and Simon said, you know, we can turn that red if you want. He says, "Can you just pour in all this dye?" And I go, wow, okay, that's amazing. Let's do that. You know, so that's sometimes these things just.
There was
happen,
in the original script there was a statue that bled.
Oh, that's right. That's
There's
right.
a statue
Yeah.
bled red tears.
Yeah.
So it
that's
began
right.
with gushing red tears.
Oh, you're
And
right.
then
Yeah.
it became waterfall. And that's
So you actually did that for real? I would have thought
We did it.
saw
That's
that
the awful thing. We did it for
CGI.
real. We had climbers up there.
Oh yeah, we
Buckets
did.
of dye. She got underneath there. I mean, you couldn't do that shot with her underneath that waterfall if it wasn't
That's
real,
true.
you know.
Yeah.
So we did it. It was freezing cold, and it was Gemma was incredible. All of us stood there completely aghast that she could actually take the pressure of the water on her head.
And when she did that jump, it was just amazing. I'm going to jump that somewhere.
That was
actually.
Neil doing the
I
job.
dare you. I did the Scottish accent years ago when I was doing about Harry Houdini, and I haven't done it since, but I'm hopefully playing Mary Queen of Scots at the end of the year, and hopefully, I hope you're all alright with that. I love it more than any other accent that I've ever done, so.
You know, this is my favourite genre, you know, that mix of reality and fantasy, and I mean, this is perfect for my sensibility, like a dirty, crappy seaside town with magical creatures stuck in it. Perfect. I'd also like to make a love story sometimes, but I should never ever be allowed to make comedies.
Actually, there was a book I tried to buy a few years ago, which I always thought would be perfect for Neil. And
What's it called?
it's called Bareback. And has anybody read that yet? Oh wow,
Yes.
it's an amazing book, isn't it?
Yeah, the female prop one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, really good, and I always thought, God, I could get that book perfect for Neil. And unfortunately, I lost out. It was about 7 or 8 years ago. But I'm thinking that the big major studio who bought it haven't made it. So I'm keeping quiet about it, which is why I'm a stranger. But yeah, no, I'd love to do something in that genre, and that was one of the best female roles I've ever read for a
Really?
for a movie. Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, listen, that's going to be about it. I mean, thank you so much, guys. I'm so glad you liked it. The film opens on May the 10th. If you want to go and see it again, please go again. For the time being, thank you, Neil, Gemma, Saoirse, and Steve.